Before Healthy Soil, I owned part of a mushroom farm that failed, and then I owned a microgreen farm where I would grow tiny pea shoots and sell them to high-end restaurants, and that failed. And then before that, I managed an aquaponic farm in the plant, and that also failed. And then after that, I was a farmer for a restaurant, and they fired me. So all that, those are the main pieces. The next thing presented itself, which was there's a problem with food waste. No one's composting it, and I just felt connected to energy transformation through composting. My name is Jonathan Scheffel. I'm the owner of Healthy Soil Compost. I was born around Chicago in Elgin, and then moved to Atlanta with my mom when I was 6. I actually had a partner in Atlanta that wanted to move to Chicago, and then I always kind of wanted to get to a bigger city, and the bright lights really pulled me here. I decided to try to walk here from Atlanta. I was so naive that I just printed out Google Maps on sheets of paper, and even like one line would just say turn left in 400 miles and that would be like a week or so later. So I walked to Virginia, and then I got way too tired psychologically and physically, and took a train from Virginia to Chicago. I knew that when I got here I was going to just force myself into the urban agricultural community. I didn't really know much about composting, but when I moved here I also enrolled in school in a community college, and I started science and chemistry. And when I learned thermodynamics, it just hit me, this totally makes sense. Waste as an input to another system and keeping a closed loop system is what I feel most attracted to. It's pretty much an ecosystem with producers, consumers, and decomposers. So the producer is creating a product or processing it, so that'd be chefs, farmers, grocery stores. The consumer then is using that product for their energy, and there's leftover waste product from each part. And then there's the decomposer, the one that collects all that waste and uses it for their energy. And then their waste product is actually the input to the next producer. Just like any other biological system or within our bodies, they're the same systems happening. So Healthy Soil Compost is part of the decomposer part of the ecosystem. We literally go around and collect waste and bring it to our partner decomposers, Nature's Little Recyclers, who use microorganisms and macroorganisms to process that waste, eat it, and chemically turn it into a new form that will then be used by the producers. So we collect banana peels, we feed it to earthworms, and then all their poop is actually what the earth is made out of. Earthworms have been around way beyond humans and have been breaking down large rocks into soil for that whole time. About 2014-15, I was gardening for a restaurant, and the season was coming to an end, but I was looking for ways to develop a revenue stream for them through the winter. And I learned about this group in Texas picking up compost on their bikes and then processing it. So I thought this could be something that people would want to pay for. So I went on to a neighborhood forum and just asked some neighbors in Hyde Park if they wanted to pay for me to pick up their food waste and have the service. And they said yes. I had a bike and a bike trailer, just 2 buckets a month, a couple pounds a month of food waste. But then the farm job ended, I was fired. And the next day I started this business as my own name. I told the customers, would you want to keep doing this with me? And they said, yes, we love it. And so just full time put myself into Healthy Soil Compost. The first year I was on bicycle, 1.5 years, and I was able to get up to 6,000 pounds a month, just me on bicycle. probably biking around 500 miles a month. So through every season, I was on a bike hauling food scraps with a big trailer 10 miles away from my house every day. And now 3 years later, we're using motor vehicles and bicycles. We're doing 450 households a month, 65 businesses, over 75,000 pounds a month. From day one, there's always a fear that this wasn't gonna work, and that really propelled me every day to make it work. Like when I was just alone is such a different thing than being now. I have to like be okay with problems. And I'm such a perfectionist that I'm usually not okay with problems, but it's okay because I'm doing it myself. And now I just have to look at the big picture of everything and realize that some problems are just natural for everything. I've gone through growing pains of people quitting because of my management style, what it used to be, because I was just overbearing and just wanted them to have everything the way I wanted it. And now the team that I work with, I've even told them that I'm having trouble learning this and I'm trying to learn this. So we have like safe words that pretty much say, we need to take a break because this isn't helping, and I'm just telling them that I'm trying to learn this and I want this to be better too, and I really value them. So. I had never owned a business that was successful, and so I really didn't know what success meant and what it looked like. And even though people kept saying how great this was, the service was, and they kept signing up, I really needed outside affirmation. I started collecting mentors telling me, this is actually a good business, you're getting somebody to pay for something and they like it. And so I'm still having trouble remembering it. There's always a fear that, it won't work and that it will end tomorrow. But I'm learning that those little things are more now mental hindrances. We're like very clean and we're in the face of the public, but then we go to the worm farm and it's a worm farm and in different states of processing.
The action of worms, especially red worms, what they basically do is they eat half their body weight a day in food waste. They carry a lot of microorganisms that are very beneficial, and they break down the cells and the various parts of food back into its components so they can be retaken back up by plants. Right now, composting is going to stop our soil erosion, it's going to stop our CO2 problems. It has a ton of benefits, and no benefits to sending it to landfill.
Landfills, by law, are required to push out all oxygen from the landfill, and food waste needs oxygen to properly decompose. So when food waste goes to a landfill, it not only takes up valuable space in that landfill, but it's decomposing in an anaerobic environment, meaning there's no oxygen. So anaerobic organisms eat it and they poop out methane. Methane then is a potent greenhouse gas that, when in our atmosphere, causes more heating and radiation and reflection, which contributes to climate change, or just in the atmosphere at those quantities is more harmful to the earth than if that same carbon is in a different form in the earth. By diverting that food waste from a landfill and properly decomposing it like how nature intended through aerobic processes, that carbon within the food waste is then held in the earth to be used by other animals like us when we eat food or when plants use it to grow. And so reducing the amount of food waste from going to a landfill is reducing greenhouse gas emissions, reducing farmers' need for chemical fertilizers because we're making organic fertilizer from it. And it's also conserving water. But then it's also developing this local economy through this industry that can provide employment opportunities. People came from decomposing matter, and now we've transformed that energy into human bodies. So. And we'll eventually be fed back to the worms too. I mean, we're a part of a cycle and a circular structure of life, and life begets life. Composting is how we make old life into new life, because the food waste is still living, There's still living organisms that we just cannot see. So we're really taking care of the organisms that keep the whole earth running. Because before humans, there's bacteria and fungi. And after humans, there'll be bacteria and fungi. And it's up to us now to figure out how to learn those ways. And all of this exists within us just naturally from the life we came from, because all of that's been passed through, if you believe in evolution.